Thank you for coming. Welcome. I'd like you to just post in chat and tell me where you're joining in from, wherever you are. Um, Joining from Canada, joining from US, joining from the UK, joining from Nigeria, Africa, Mozambique. Just post in chat and let us know where you're joining from. I'm so excited to be hosting you today on this webinar. And I believe that you're going to have a very, very wonderful experience by joining today. So I want to encourage you to stick with me to the end because I have something interesting that I would like to announce to you at the end of this webinar. So this webinar is going to be straight to the point, no fluff, no gimmicks. You're going to get it, as it coming, you're going to get it hot. So I'm not going to, withhold some information from you so that I can, you know, game you into something. I'm doing this webinar basically to release the fire in my bones to help people go from where they are to where they want to be in their creativity. I'm doing this webinar because I want to inspire you. I want to inspire someone out there who will be listening to me on the power that they carry, and that is the creativity within them. You see, when I began to, take interest in the subject of creativity, I did not find enough information. I did not find enough inspiration. I did not find enough content to help me sharpen that thing that I had within me. So I had to do all the hard work. I had to do all the research. Most of the stuff I saw online were not, well articulated, and it wasn't well structured. So it was a pain to really understand what creativity is, and it still is a pain today. In fact, I'm going to show you in today's presentation some of the information that you can find online that could be misleading and that could, potentially reduce the impact and the power that you carry as a creative if you take in those kind of information and don't have the right kind of information. So like I sent out some minutes back that as a creative person you need some form of inspiration, some form of boost, some form of daily dose of inspiration to help you sustain your creative edge, whether you're a career person or you're an entrepreneur. So welcome once again. In this presentation there are three things that I'm striving to achieve with you. And the three things is that number one, you're going to gain the ability to remove the blockers on your creativity. Number two, you're going to get a boost on your creativity. And number three, you're going to be able to move from idea, talent, skills, or gifts, or knowledge, or experience to profitable creations, to tangible solutions, and to valuable outcomes. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, picture something. Picture a car. Picture a car that's stuck on the way. Okay, before I go into the presentation, let me just do a quick introduction for those of you who do not know me. My name is Iredafe Owolabi, and you can call me Dafe for short. I'm an author of 17 books and counting, and I'm also a creativity coach. I help people master the business of the creativity, and then I'm also a software engineer. So I also work a 9 to 5 job. So I'm not that those coaches out there who will tell you to quit your job because you have an idea. So I'm going to talk more about all that in this webinar. So stay put and take out your writing materials, stay engaged in this live cast, and get ready to absorb whatever is going to come your way. Now, I'm going to tell you a bit about what I'm going to teach you and how it's going to help you boost your problem solving and your creativity skills. For some of you, you may say, oh, my dream involves making a lot of money. Yeah. If you cannot hear me, just let me know on the chat. I'm going to keep talking, believing that you can hear me. And if you can hear me, also let me know in the chat. I can see all your messages. Thank you, all of you who joined live from all over the world. I'm so excited to have you. So just let me know if you can hear me in the chat so that I continue without feeling distracted or feeling like I'm not, communicating my thoughts properly. So my dreams, someone might say, my dreams involve making a lot of money or fulfilling my vision or ambition. So how does this teaching, how does this presentation help me make all this happen? Well, I have good news for you. Problem solving is directly proportional to your income. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an employee, problem solving is directly proportional. Your problem solving skills is directly proportional to your income, to how much you're able to attract, to how much you can make. Thank you. I can see the responses from everyone. You can hear me. Excellent, excellent. So we're good. So problem solving, your problem solving skill is one of the most important skills that you can hone as an individual, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are an employee. Your problem solving skills is one of the most fundamental skills that will take you, to the top in whatever field that you find yourself, regardless of what you do. Even if you were into ministry, even if you were into politics, whatever it is, your problem solving skills is at the crux of your progress. So it's so sad to see that many people want progress. They want to grow in their career. They want to grow in their business, and they do not want to spend time developing their problem solving skills. They do not want to spend time developing their creativity. Why? Because creativity is a soft skill. Problem solving skill is a soft skill that is, easy to overlook. Meanwhile, that is the main thing. That is where the driver comes from. That is where the propelling force to advance comes from. And I'll explain a bit about that, along as we go into this webinar. So, another thing I'd like to tell you about creativity and why what I'm about to teach you is going to, be revolutionary for you, is going to be impactful, is going to be game changing for you, is that you can get fired from your job, but you cannot get fired from your creativity. You can get fired from your job, but you cannot get fired from your creativity. Steve Jobs is a very famous entrepreneur, the one who founded, the Apple company. Almost everybody probably uses an iPhone today. We have billions of users of iPhones today, if I'm not mistaken. But Steve Jobs was once fired from Apple, a company he founded, a company he created, a company he built from scratch. He was fired from that company. And when he got fired, after he got fired, they had people running the company, but somehow things started to go down. Revenues began to go down, began to tank, and they needed to call him back. Why? Because they needed his creativity. They needed something that he had that the other people who had beautiful certificates and beautiful degrees who were running the company did not have. So you can get fired from your job, but you can't get fired from your creativity, even if you work a job. So you see, I work in a very big company that's based in the US. And in the past 2 years, if you are familiar with what's been going on around the world, you understand that a lot of people are getting laid off. And one of the things that these employers look out for, nobody even knows. Like, nobody even knows what these people are using as a criteria, because sometimes you see people who were hardworking, people who spend, long hours trying to deliver on projects, getting laid off. You see even managers getting laid off. And nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what the benchmark or the criteria is. You see, but the only thing that I can tell you is that if you have creativity, it would not matter what's going on. Even if you get laid off, it would not matter, because you have something that can help you generate resources out of nothing. It helps you through resourcefulness generate resources out of nothing. Now, let's go over to the meat of the day. Now, imagine a car that's stuck in the desert. Have you ever been in the situation where you drove somewhere and your battery would not start, so you can't drive your car? When you try to turn the ignition, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's happening. The car is not coming on. The car is a brand new car. It's an expensive car, but the battery is dead. Now, what use and what value is an expensive car with a dead battery? You see, this is what many people are like. They have great ideas, they have fabulous potentials, but the battery that should power that potential to progress, to power that potential to exploit, is dead. And the whole idea behind this program, Creativity Boost, is to boost that battery, that dead battery, that creativity of yours, that seems to be, sleeping or lying dormant or has not been fully harnessed. And that's why I tagged this program Creativity Boost. Just like the idea of boosting a car that has a dead battery with, a battery that's, functional, or with a charger. When you boost that car and you get it working, you release the brakes on that car, you're able to move that car from point A to point B. So those are the three things we are going to achieve today. Number one, we are going to release the brakes on your creativity. Number two, we are going to boost the creativity. We are going to inject some charge into your creativity. We are going to set you ablaze. We are going to set your creativity on fire. And I'm going to explain what that means. I'm not just, using words without understanding what I'm saying. So just stick with me and I'll explain in detail what I mean when I say I'm going to set your creativity ablaze. What is the implication of that? And number three, you're going to be able to go from where you are. Maybe it's an idea you have that has not yet been fully harnessed, a skill, a talent, whatever it is. You're going to take that and turn it into a tangible creation. Now, I'm going to begin by dealing with the blockers of creativity. Many people think that creativity is all about having fantastic ideas, big ideas, great ideas, and when you ask someone, what are you doing about your creativity? You say, I'm creative, or I'm creative, I have good ideas, so I'm creative. You see, this is a misconception. This is a myth that I would like to bust today. The myth that people think because you have a good idea, you have a great idea, you have a viable idea, then you are creative. This is in itself a negation to the fact of what creativity is all about. You cannot be creative and sit with your ideas and say, because you have ideas, you are creative. You have to take those ideas and turn them into something for you to claim to be creative. And I'm not saying this to put you down or to make you feel less creative or less of yourself. But what I'm saying is that having ideas alone is not enough. Now, I was doing a search online some days back and I typed in these words. What is the difference between creativity and innovation? And some popular blogs came up in the search on the first page of Google search. You know what it means when your blog comes up in the first page of Google search? It means that you are ranked as a top responder. So most people will always see your answer. They will always see your response. They will always see what you've written in the first page. So millions and billions of people have potentially viewed what you're seeing on my screen right now. And what are you seeing on my screen? If you can see what is highlighted, you can see that this popular blog post says creativity refers to the ability to come up with original ideas. This is true, but it's not completely true. Now, I'm going to take you back to the previous slide, and then it tries to bring a contrast with innovation, saying innovation involves implementing those ideas. Now, I don't agree with that because creativity involves innovation. Creativity involves having the ideas and implementing them. So having the ideas alone would not make you creative if you do not implement them. And I will explain that, as we progress. Now, another popular blog site, even Harvard Business Review, came up with this post in the first page of my search. And it says creativity is about coming up with the big ideas, and innovation is about executing the idea. And I don't agree with this. So these are some of the misconceptions that millions and billions of people have swallowed and are running with. And they say, oh, I'm creative because I have a good idea. I have a eureka moment. So I'm creative. I'm going to run up with it. I was able to think of this mighty idea. But you've not done anything about it. You've not executed that idea, and you want to claim to be creative. And I'll tell you why I believe so. Now, let's see something. Picture the slide you have before you, a pregnant woman. Now, if someone is pregnant and for some reason whatsoever does not, birth that child, does not release that child into the world for whatever reason, that person has not yet procreated. You see, the word creative or creation is a root word that was used in the word procreation, to procreate, to give birth to children as a human being. Now, any human who is pregnant with a child that does not push that child in the delivery room cannot say, oh, I procreated, because until that child, whether through operation or through the natural process, is delivered to the world to experience the world in a tangible form, procreation cycle is not yet complete. So if you have an idea and you've not turned that idea into a tangible, visible, veritable solution or outcome for people to see, then you are not yet creative, sorry to say. And this is what inspires my understanding of creativity, because back then, 5 years ago, when I was thinking and I was brainstorming, what is creativity? What is creativity? What is this thing all about? And all I could see online was it's about having big ideas. And I'm like, if it's about having big ideas, then why are we not seeing, the big solutions out there? Why is it that just 1% of the world are controlling almost 80% of the resources if creativity is a driver of resources? And then I came to this conclusion. Now, that's one myth of creativity that I've been able to demystify. Now, the next one I'm going to tell you or talk to you about today is that creativity is limited by lack of funds. Now, this is a misconception. A lot of people believe that, oh, I'm creative, but because I don't have financing, I don't have funds, so that's why I'm where I am. And then they try to justify that excuse with many, 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 many stories. And I can relate with those people because I've been there before. I know what it feels like to have an idea, to have a great idea, to have a project that requires funding and not have the resources, not have the connections, the network to make it happen. Now, what I'm trying to say here and point out here is that it is a misconception to think that the lack of resources, the lack of finances, the lack of funding is powerful enough, is capable enough to stop your creativity from being operational. It is a misconception to think that because you do not have the funding, then you cannot be creative as you should be. Because creativity in itself was born, was brought into being, creativity is a phenomenon that exists for problem solving. That's the best way to put it. So you cannot have a problem that you have tagged to be lack of funding, and then you claim to be creative, but you have not figured out a solution to that problem. Because that's the very reason why you have the creativity to start with. You are creative so that you can solve problems, And if the problem you're facing in moving from idea to solutions is that you lack funding, then through creativity, you'll be able to figure it out. Now, I get this question every now and then when I engage with people who are disappointed or discouraged in their creative expedition. And they say, I don't have money, I don't have no one to invest on my ideas, I don't have anybody to believe in me and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, but that's why you have creativity. Use that creativity to figure out the solution, to solve the problem. Because you can't say I'm creative, but my problem is, the moment you put creative and problem, unsolved problem in the same sentence, it means you don't understand what creativity is all about. Because if you are really creative, it will obliterate the problem that you're trying to reference in that sentence. Now, I'm going to put up a short poll for everyone to participate in. And I'd like you to participate. There's no right or wrong answer. So I want you to just put up the answers, and I'm going to see the results. It's not going to be made public. I'm just doing this to have an idea of how people's journey on creativity is like. So you see the poll on your screen. Just do well to respond. I'm going to give you a few seconds before I take off the poll. So while you are doing that, I'm going to move to the next slide. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. And this story is a real life story. I have two friends. I met two friends. One of them had an idea, and he worked on that idea. He developed that idea, and he developed a product from that idea. And this product has the capacity to bring in millions of dollars to this guy. But somehow he's limited because he needs a particular company to give him access to an API or to something, a computer access to some data. Let's put it that way. And because of that limitation, he's not been able to do anything for 3 years. And when he talked to me about it, I was broken. I was like, what do you mean? How do you sleep at night? You mean you have this thing, it's already built. It's an idea that has already been turned to a product and it's never gone live. Nobody has benefited from it. I know of authors who have written books and they stuck the books in their wardrobes and never published it. Why? Because they feel maybe nobody will like this book. Maybe nobody will read this book. I have stories upon stories about these things. I know of people who have developed things, who have developed concepts, who have developed solutions, who have done researches in their fields. They've come up with, antidotes for sicknesses and diseases. They've done researches that are locked up in the libraries, and nobody is going to ever see those researches come alive. And this was what I saw. And I said, so it means that there are many people who they have something in them that could potentially make them a wealthy billionaire, like Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, or Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. They have this potential, but they've not taken that potential and turned it into a valuable outcome for several reasons. For some, it may be lack of inspiration, it may be time constraint, it may be self-doubt, it may be fear, it may be external criticism, whatever it may be. This was the predicament I found my friend. Now, when I was done with this friend of mine, he was on fire. He was fired up, and he ran, and he began to do something about, getting his project out there. So that's just by the way, and that's one of my friends. I had another friend who had an idea. He's not even been able to build it. He doesn't have the skills to build it on his own. But guess what? He was able to rally people around. He was able to get people on board, and voila, that project is about to come alive. Now, we have people in different categories in their creative journey. And what I'm most passionate about is that wherever you are in your creative journey, if you allow me, I'm able to help you move from that point. Maybe in point A, I'll move you to the next point. Maybe in point B, I'll move you to the next point. Whatever point you are, you need that push, because you never know what would, hold you back, what will block your creativity from gaining its full manifestation and its full expression. So now this is that story of these two friends. And I said that to come to this point. Excuse me. I gave you that background so that I could lay another foundation for you about what creativity is all about. Now, there are about 7 different categories of people who are sitting on a gold mine right now, and may even go to the grave without, fully manifesting what they could do, their potential. Now, I can see a lot of you have responded to the poll, and I can see a lot of you in the chat saying, "Word, Dafe, very deep. Oh, we can hear you. Thank you." So I'd like you to keep putting in those comments in the chat so that, I know that you're hearing me, and I know that you are getting it hot. You're getting it hot as it's coming. So keep putting in those words. I see you, Tosin. I see you, Wisdom. I see you, Stanley. All of you, thank you for joining from different parts of the world. I'm so excited to have you with me. Now, we have the dormant creatives. Now, who are these dormant creatives? These are people who, for some reason, they never tapped into their ideas. They know within themselves, they always have this sense of dissatisfaction. They always have this sense of unrest. Now, these people are not necessarily people who are broke or poor. Most of these people are even working in good jobs. They are in the top echelons of society. Some of them are even doing well in their careers, but every time when they go to bed, they have this deep sense of dissatisfaction because something in them is calling out for expression. There's a brainchild within them. There's a baby they are carrying in the womb of their mind that has not yet been birthed. And that's how I came about Birth Your Brainchild. Now, I'm going to talk about Birth Your Brainchild in another webinar. So watch out for that. Maybe in the next 2 months or so, I plan on having webinars, to help people, go from where they are to where they need to be. So watch out for Birth Your Brainchild in the coming future, in the foreseeable future. So what is this dormant creative? What are these dormant creatives, faced with? They are faced with the frustration of not being able to tap into their creative potential. The only thing they desire is to be able to give life to the baby in the womb of their mind. That's the only thing. Now, these people may not even need money. They may not even need money. They just want to write that book. They don't even care if anybody buys it. They just want the fulfillment of being able to produce that idea into tangible equivalent. But for some reason, they are dormant. And most of these people, one of the reasons why they stay dormant is time constraint. And I can see in the poll that I posted out, a lot of people are saying the factor they believe has the greatest impact on stopping or stifling their creativity is time constraints. And I can only agree with you. You see, I recently published a book, and that book took me 5 years to write. Why did it take me 5 years to write that book? For 5 years, the idea to write that book had been in my head, but it stayed dormant. Why? Because of time constraints. So I know what it's like to be a father, to be a mother, to be a busy entrepreneur, to be a busy employee, and have ideas, but for some reason you can't take those ideas over the line. You can't turn those ideas to profitable creation. And that's why I'm in this kind of, thing that I'm doing. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm talking about what I'm talking about. That's why I'm teaching what I'm teaching about. Because a lot of people have these things in them, sitting in them, and potentially will take it to their graves. They are literally sitting on a gold mine, but they have no clue what they're doing. In 2018, a lady reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I need some help. I was planning to run a webinar in 2018, and I think it was Birth Your Brainchild in 2018. And the lady reached out to me and she said she was in her 40s. She was working in a top city in her country as a top banker in her company, in one of the top banks in her city, but she wasn't fulfilled. And she wasn't fulfilled, and she felt like, oh, maybe I need to quit my job so that I can be creative. And guess what I told her? Unlike other people who will say, quit your job and work on your idea, whatever it is. I told her, you see, you don't need to quit your job to be creative. You need to be creative so that you can figure out how to quit your job intelligently. Now, what do I mean by that? You don't need to wait for an event to happen before you become creative. So if you're working a 9 to 5, a busy 9 to 5, you've got to allow creativity help you figure out how within the confines of your limitation, because I recognize it as a limitation, but with creativity, you recognize how that within the confines of that limitation, you would be able to transform that idea that you're supposed to transform or convert or take from to or turn to a creation. You're going to be able to, within the confines of your limitation, figure out ways to do it. If it means waking up 2 a.m. in the night to start working on your idea 1 hour every day, it's a good start before you quit your job. If it means coming back from work by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whenever it is and putting your babies to sleep or feeding whatever, doing whatever house work or whatever things, obligations you have to do in your home, and spending the remaining 2 hours before you go to bed working on that thing, then do it. But the thing is that most dormant creatives would rather watch Netflix than work on their ideas. And I have nothing against that. They would rather play video game than work on their ideas. So they will spend years not doing anything about it until they get fired up. And for me, in the book I recently released, I had lots of excuses not to publish it the year I got the idea. The second year, I had lots of excuses. The third year, I had a child. I needed to be a father. The fourth year, I needed to be a father. But you know what? I told myself on the fifth year, say, fatherhood is not going to stop. I'm already in this thing. So I have to, get cranking on this idea. And that's where many dormant creatives need to get to. They need that aha moment. They need that boost, that jump start that will push them and will cause them to start doing something. So I told that lady, don't quit your job yet. Get creative, get your ideas, get the things within you out there, and then you will figure out a way to make that thing your job so that you can quit your job. Now, let's go to the next category of people. We have the suppressed creatives. Now, these are people who have creative potential, but for some external reasons, some external factors, they suppress it. Maybe some restrictions, maybe some limitation, maybe it's their country's policies, whatever it is, economic conditions, they suppress the ideas. And these people also, they are sitting on a gold mine, and they need people they need someone, they need something, they need an event that will push them, that will jumpstart that dead battery. Because it's just like when you park a car in winter and you don't start the car, that battery will keep losing current, losing power, and before you know it, the battery will go flat. And when you try to start it, it won't work again because you've not used it. So suppressed creatives also have that thing in them, but because they've not used it, it looks like they're not creative. And so that's why I believe everyone is creative, but not everyone has ignited their creativity. Everyone is creative, but not everyone have boosted their creativity. That's why everyone at some point in their journey needs that creative boost. They need that juice to fire them up. They need something that will charge them and propel them to begin to do something. And without that, they may go to the grave with their ideas unbirthed or unproduced into tangible equivalents. Now, there's another category that, and I have 7 of these categories, but for the interest of time, I'm going to deal with only 3. If you want to know about the other 4, I'm going to tell you how you can know about it by the end of this program. So stick with me and don't go nowhere. Now, we have the fearful creatives. These people, they have the potential. They have what it takes, but they just doubt themselves. And I saw some people talk about, self-doubt. I saw some people in the poll that I posted, they talk about external criticisms. Now, these are the factors. These are some of the things that stifles the creativity of people and becomes a blocker. Remember, we are talking of unblocking you and releasing the brakes on your creativity. These are some of the things that keeps people stuck in the desert. It keeps them stuck in the desert, and it looks like they are driving a car with no battery, right? I want to take you back to that slide so that you see what it's like. So they're stuck, and they're looking for help. They don't even know who to call because their phones, their batteries are dead, and they're in the middle of nowhere. And that's why I'm taking this upon myself to inspire people to tap into their creativity in its fullest extent. So I'm going to take you further to my next poll. So I have another poll for you. And I want you to answer. There's no right or wrong answers. So just do well to, respond to the poll however you see fit. You're going to see it in your screen in no time. Yeah. Yeah. So while you're making your responses or responding to that poll, I'm going to go over to my next slide. I've talked about the fearful creatives. Now, what is creativity? I've talked about misconceptions of creativity. I've talked about, the blockers of creativity. So what is creativity? Creativity is simple, the ability to create. Just the way the word implies, the ability to create. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So creativity is an action, it's an active process. Just the way create is an active word, it's an action word. The verb create is an action word. And the word creativity is an active process. So you can't be creative and sit on your idea and do nothing about it. That's what I told this guy. I said, so you mean you are suppressing your inner Zuckerberg? The guy laughed when I said it. I said, you are suppressing your inner Zuckerberg. You have a Mark Zuckerberg inside of you, but you are suppressing that inner genius inside of you because of one small challenge. You see, this is where people don't understand that creativity is an action word. You have to do something to create. You can't have an idea and call yourself creative because having an idea is passive. Everybody has ideas. Having an idea, there's nothing difficult about having ideas, but the problem is in being able to turn that idea into a creation. And so, what is creativity? The ability to create. Creativity, I have a simple equation for creativity: thinking plus doing. Number 2, what is creativity? Ability to solve problems. Now, creativity exists to solve problems. So if you have a problem that's stopping you from turning your idea into a tangible creation or profitable solution, you have creativity. And if you ignite that creativity, that's what you need to be able to solve that problem. Now, when God created man, God built into man the ability to solve problems. God built into man the ability to create. And why do I say that? As a software engineer, when we write code, when we create software, when we create programs, one of the things we do, the first thing we do is to test it, to test that it behaves the way we intend it to behave, that the code that we've written is performing the way we want it to perform. And so when God created man, God put man under 3 tests. The first test was a test of his creativity. The second test was a test of his problem-solving skills. And then the third test was a test of his obedience. Adam passed the first two tests, but he failed the third one. And I'm going to explain that. So when God created man, he created Adam. The Bible says that he put him in the garden and he told him to dress it and keep it. He gave Adam work to do. He gave him a job to do. Nobody gives you a job for the sake of giving you a job. Every company hires people so that these people can help them solve problems. So when God was giving Adam the job in the garden to dress it and keep it, God was putting Adam's problem-solving skills that he had built into him to test. So God has wired in you the capacity to solve problems. That's why he tested Adam for problem solving. Now, after doing that, Adam passed it because he did the job well enough. And then God gave him another task to test his creativity. God brought animals before him and told him to name those animals. Adam had not read any book about animal naming. He had not gone to school about it. He had not taken any course about it. But God wanted to test his creativity. Now, creativity is that thing that helps you prefer solutions even when you did not take any formal education for it. There's a place for education, where creativity is concerned, but education does not make you creative. Creativity is what makes your education relevant. That's why we have many people who have great and fabulous education, but are not creative with the knowledge they've gathered. They still have imposter syndrome. They still feel like they need to get more certificates before they can be creative. But certificates don't make you creative. It's problem-solving ability that makes you creative. And you have in you the ability to solve problems because God has built it in you. But if you don't ignite that capacity, if you don't boost that potential, if you don't supercharge and jumpstart that dead battery in you, you may just sit there and be like every average human being and live the world like an average human being. Now, the third description of creativity I'm going to give to you is that creativity is a propelling force. Creativity is a propelling force. Now, take a look at, a rocket. Before a rocket leaves the ground into space, something happens. It is ignited, when they turn the ignition of the engine, it is ignited and then the fuel of the rocket gets mixed with oxygen and it goes through combustion process. And the combustion process produces some internal force that propels the rocket and gives it an escape velocity to escape the gravitational pull of the earth. So creativity is that propelling force. Now, if you are creative, you will not be able to rest until you do something about your ideas, until you produce your idea, because it will keep propelling you to take action. It will keep propelling you. There will be obstacles, but that force will be pushing you to do something about it. It will be pushing you to leverage the resources you have, to become resourceful with the little resources that you have, just to make sure that you are able to produce the solution that you were born to produce. So creativity is a propelling force. That's why when people say I'm creative, but the reason why I've not done anything about this idea is because I have this little or big challenge. I tell them, I say, you don't understand what it means to be creative. If you are really creative, you'll be propelled to do something about it. Necessity will be laid on you and you won't be able to sleep. I asked him, I said, how are you able to sleep? You have an application fully built. Some people don't even have half of what you have, and they employ 50 people and they get funding and they do things. How are you able to sleep? You need that fire ignited in you. And that's why I said I'm going to set your creativity ablaze in this program. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I want you to tell me in the chat if you're feeling the fire right now, if you're feeling like something is setting you on fire, something is setting your creativity ablaze. I want you to tell me in the chat, because that is the whole lesson. You can't be creative and not do something about it. And if you're creative, or if you have these creative ideas and you're not doing something about it yet, or doing enough about it, it means you need to ignite that creativity. You need to boost that creativity. And how do you boost it? By attending programs like this, by reading books that will help you stimulate that fire within you, ignite that fire within you, or light up that fire within you and give you the light bulb moment, the aha moment that you need to propel yourself to where you need to be. Every true creative always had an aha moment. They always had a light bulb moment. And with the light bulb moment, they were able to take themselves over the line. Now, How do you boost your creativity? I've already spoken extensively about the aha moment. But before I go into this, I want to give you another poll. There's no right or wrong answer. Just answer it as you see fit. Um, I'm doing this so that you can also, engage in some personal self-evaluation and really look within you and examine yourself and try to figure out why you're not doing what you should be doing or why you're stuck where you are when you have so much potential. Now, excuse me. How do you boost your creativity? Number one, engage in critical thinking. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking simply means the ability to question assumptions and conventions. So, the man, many years ago, like hundreds of years ago, people thought that the earth was flat. They thought the earth was flat. It took one man who came up and said, why do people think the earth is flat? And then he navigated through the sea and came up with, a theory that no, the earth is round. Why did he go on that journey? How would a man in his full senses just wake up and take a boat in the days of old, hundreds of years ago, and just take a boat and just enter the sea, not knowing what's going to happen, where it's going to end? He had, that curiosity that came about through critical thinking. What does it mean to be a critical thinker? It means to question the status quo in a positive way, to get a reason for your creative endeavor. Many people are not creative, and their creativity have not been boosted because they don't have a reason why they should do what they do. They've not engaged in critical thinking enough that will stimulate a hunger in them that will propel them to become more creative with the ideas and the resources that you already have. And so the easy excuse is to say, oh, because I don't have money, oh, because there's no investor, oh, because there's no this, there's no that. But the resources you already have, what are you doing with it? What are you doing about it? Now, that's number one. Number two, how do you boost your creativity? Activate your entrepreneurial spirit. What does it mean to be entrepreneurial? That word also means to be adventurous, to have that desire to take on adventures, to see what will happen if I take this path. You see, many people are living in regret and may live all their lives in regret that they never gave their idea a chance. They never know what would have happened if they took their idea and devoted some time to give it expression in tangible form. Don't be among those people who would allow an idea, allow your skills, allow your knowledge, allow your experience to die or follow you to the grave because you are afraid to take that adventure. Because you are saying, oh, people will laugh at me, or it may not work, or people may not profit from it, or it may not generate money. You see, people who want to be creative, they don't really even care about money because the fire that's burning in them, they just can't sleep that I have to just try this thing. I don't care if it works or if it doesn't work. And I'm not in any way um I'm not in any way removing the need for critical thinking, like I've already said. I'm not in any way removing the need for analyzing your actions and analyzing your thought process and saying, is this thing even sensible? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've done all your homework, you've done your due diligence in that area now, but you're not sure how it's going to end because you don't really know. Nobody has done it before, or you don't know if it's going to work the way you think it will work. That's where the entrepreneurial spirit comes in, because that's the spirit that helps you to venture into this adventure of creativity that takes you from idea to creation. The great inventors and creators and business owners and brand owners and people who pioneered movements never knew what would come out of their action. Martin Luther King, when he stood against racial discrimination against the blacks, he never knew it was going to turn into a movement. He never knew his name would be etched in history because of that action. The lady Rosa Parks, who refused to, stand up for someone in the bus because of this same racial discrimination, she never knew that that is what is going to inspire Martin Luther King and inspire the movement that it inspired. So this is the entrepreneurial spirit that we're talking about. Now, I'm going to leave you with this final tip on how to boost your creativity, and it's to execute, to take action. Many people are where they are because they refuse to take action. And I will leave you with this story. This guy on the screen, his name is Tope Awotona. He's a Nigerian, but he's based in the US. And he's the founder of Calendly. Today, Calendly has over 10 million users, the last time I checked. But when he started, no one supported him. He had no financing. He had to bootstrap the business from his savings. He had to just keep doing and keep going with what he was going with. He had spent all his money. He had even failed in 3 businesses before, but he decided to execute because he believes it's better to try than to regret that you never tried it. And so I'm leaving you with that word today, that whatever the idea, the skills, whatever it is that you're having in your mind, that God is dropping in your heart to birth as a brainchild, do not let it die. Do not kill it. Do not let external factors, do not let time constraints limit it. Go and do something about it. Go and do something about it. So those are the 3 important steps I'm going to leave you. I have about 10 of these steps, but for the sake of time, I'm going to leave you with 3. Number 1, engage critical thinking. Number 2, activate your entrepreneurial spirit. And then number 3, execute ruthlessly. Be ruthless in your execution. Now, I wish I had more time. I would go into mindstorming and brainstorming and all the other strategies, but there's no hope. There's no, love lost. There's no need to be disappointed that we can't go into all the details because we just have 1 hour for this webinar, and I want to entertain your questions. So if you would like to learn more about this, because this is something you should study, this is something you should really do a work on, do one intense introspection with, and take notes and evaluate your own personal journey so that you can come up with actionable steps. Because creativity, what it means to you is different from what it means to the person sitting next to you. So you have to do the evaluation yourself. You have to sit down and open your notepad and open your book and do an intensive analysis of what you require to get creative, to go from idea to creation, to boost your creativity that has been sitting dormant or suppressed or unrecognized for too long, and do something about it. Now, I have a brand new book. I told you about it in the beginning, and this is a big announcement before I'm going to take your questions. And this book is going to help you engage your creative potential, engage your creative juices and your creative muscles, and get yourself activated for creativity. And it's going to even help you understand all these concepts that I've talked about a lot better. Now, this brand new book is titled Ignite Your Creativity. I should have written this book 5 years ago, but because of all the things that we've all talked about, the book has not been written until now. So this is me also going through that creative journey, weathering the storm and overcoming all the challenges to get that idea, that gift within me out to the world. So I'm not teaching you something that I don't use myself. I'm not teaching you something that I've not experienced. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So this book is going to enhance your creativity. In this book, you're going to find 40 different worksheets and exercises. And with these exercises, you're going to be able to write on them or write on your notepad and assess yourself, because most times many people teach creativity without giving, actionable solutions, without helping the recipients to be able to do evaluations that will help them come up with strategies that will boost their creativity. So this book is going to be like a guide for you that will help you boost your creativity. Even when I'm not there, you're going to be able to sit down, analyze it when you're on the train, when you're on the bus, when you're in your living room, and come up with strategies to boost your creativity, to take yourself from idea to creative solutions, to take yourself from idea to profitable creations. And so this book is available. You can get it in 2 ways. The first way you can get it is, on my website. So I'm doing this because I know that there's a need and there's a vacuum out there to be filled. And I want to be that bridge between you and your highest creativity. So these books and these products that I have for sales, they are here to help you on your journey, to help you make the most of your journey, because you need these materials to make your learning faster and quicker. So if you have questions, for me based on what we've talked about, feel free to post it in the chat and I'll respond to it. We still have a few minutes left. I'll be happy to answer your questions and provide you with more clarity if there's anything that happens to not be clear. And while you post your questions in chat, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this book. This book, I got inspired to write this book in 2018. I was invited to a conference of 1,200 attendees, and I spoke on the topic that I tagged Creativity Accelerator. When I was done with that 1 hour presentation, I went back to my seat and someone tapped me and gave me a handshake and appreciated my delivery and said he was blessed. And then he asked me if I had a book that contained the stuff I had just shared, the bullets I had just released. And I was like, I have a book on creativity, but it doesn't really contain the things I've just said on the stage. And then he was like, oh, okay, let me see the one you have. He bought the one I had, but he was still disappointed. And he asked me if I could write a book that would capture the things that I had shared. And then I promised him. I promised him. Then I didn't know what was waiting for me. I just made a promise. I said, okay, I'll write a book, not knowing that there were going to be roadblocks and challenges. And after making that promise, I had that, seed, that idea in me, in the womb of my mind. It was growing. I kept, nursing that baby, but it took 5 years. And I'm so grateful to God that today I'm able to, share it with the world, because this thing that I'm talking about is prevalent in billions of people all over the world. And so I'm so excited. Now, for those who would like to get the hard copy, I also have it on Amazon. Amazon is a provider that is going to give you the book, deliver it on your doorstep. So if you want the hard copy, you can take advantage of the offer that I have on the screen right now, and just click the button. It will take you right to Amazon's page, and then Amazon is going to deliver it to your doorstep. And this book, it contains 40 worksheets that will enhance your creativity with practical exercises. It will help you become a more creative entrepreneur or employee. It will help you develop your critical thinking skills and your problem solving skills and your creativity skills. It will help you uncover the hidden gifts and talents that you don't even know that you have. So there's so much to say about this book. Whether you're a student, you're a professional, you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you are, and whatever it is that you do, this book is going to take you from where you are to where you need to be in your creative journey. So you have the offer. I would appreciate if you take advantage of them. And yes, I see a question. Does environment influence creativity? Wisdom is asking, does environment influence creativity? And I would say yes. Environment has an impact and it has a role to play in creativity. Just the way if a woman gets pregnant, she has to become conscious of her environment. She would not want to, eat anything. She would not want to sleep anywhere. She would not want to do anything or engage in activities that an ordinary person who is not pregnant would engage in. She would want to condition herself to support her baby's growth in a more optimal manner. So there are some creative ideas that you have that may be impacted by your environment. But is that going to stop your creativity from producing? No. With creativity, you'll be able to navigate the unique limitations with your given environment, because every environment has its limitations. Some people think that because they are in a third world country, they cannot do what they need to do. But trust me, these same people will come to a first world country and give you another excuse why they cannot do what they should do. So instead of pointing out reasons and giving excuses, using your environment as an excuse not to release your creative potential and give it full expression, allow creativity help you figure out a way around it. And you can also engage with people who are of like minds. You can even shoot me an email so that we can go into details on how to navigate the peculiarities of your environment so that you can get your brainchild from the womb of your mind into the hands of people. So I hope that answers your question, Wisdom. Oh yeah, I think it does. He said, wow. So thank you all for joining. We still have about 3 minutes to go on this webinar. If you have any questions, you can post them. If you have any feedback, you can post them. I also want you to go over on social media and just read about this event, Creativity Boost. What did you learn? You can go to my blog post and just say something about one of my blogs that you've learned about, creativity here, or just send me an email, to let me know the feedback you have for me or what you learned from today's